Ah, Shadowgate. The name alone brings back memories for many a gamer. Some remember it for its dark sense of humor and puzzles that, while puzzling and even often downright irritating, aren't completely impossible as long as you're persistent. Others would call it a frustrating mess that defines Nintendo hard. Still others, well, they only remember this sound. I'm guessing a fourth of my audience just now ran away screaming.
For the most part, I'm in the first camp. Sure, this game gets on my nerves sometimes, but I've rarely played another where dying is so darn funny. Heck, after I'd finally beaten it, most of the replay value came from finding new and exciting ways to meet the Reaper. I meant in the game.
Like most adventure games, Shadowgate does have a story. Basically, the Warlock Lord is trying to raise the behemoth and, I don't know, spread death and destruction or something. He's really a pretty vague villain as far as motivation goes. And our celebrated hero is... heck, let's just read it. The dreaded Warlock Lord will use his black magic to raise the behemoth from the dark depths. The combination of his evil arts and the great Titan's power will surely destroy us all. You are the last of the line of kings, the seed of prophecy that was foretold eons ago. Only you can stop the evil one from darkening our world forever. Fare thee well. I only said it was a story. I didn't say it wasn't cheesy. Gameplay-wise, this is your basic point-and-click adventure. Unfortunately, the NES gamepad wasn't really made for that, so you'll probably end up missing things you meant to click at least some of the time. Not an insurmountable obstacle, but it is kind of annoying. You should also be advised that this game is all about trial and error, especially error. There aren't that many things you can do that don't result in death, but there are a few that result in questionable humor, sometimes through the creative use of whatever you have on hand. No, I won't explain the joke. As you wander Castle Shadowgate, you must solve puzzles, defeat a few monsters, and find a lot of stuff. Useful stuff! Not so useful stuff! Stuff you can kill yourself with! No, really, that's what I said. Stuff you can kill yourself with. And in a surprisingly graphic manner. My theory, the programmers knew that at some point or another, you'd be at your wit's end over some puzzle you can't solve or suffering yet another stupid yet seemingly unavoidable death. And what better way to relieve your stress than, say, stabbing yourself or setting yourself on fire? But as far as creative ways to die go, that's only the beginning. You can get eaten by a shark. You can fall down the wrong trap door. You can even get sucked into the vastness of space, which I have to admit I was not expecting inside a medieval castle. Then there's the one that all players dread. Your torch going out! Oh yeah, can't review Shadowgate without mentioning the torch. The most common scenario is that you've gotten lost somewhere and you can't figure out how to go forward. You're focused. You're determined. You're sure that with a little more time you can... Aw, crap. Well, if you're lucky, you've got a few torches in reserve. But if you're not so lucky... Yeah, you read that right. You trip, you fall, you die. What's really fascinating, though, is how detailed the death texts are. This, folks, is an NES game released in 1989. To put things in perspective, here's a nifty webpage devoted to Nintendo of America's past policy of censoring games for violence, language, and anything else even remotely controversial. And that policy was especially rampant in the days of the NES and the Super NES. And yet, somehow, Shadowgate gets away with this. it's not the best of it. Oh no. Let's say you've been roaming around the castle for a while and you find this lovely lady, who actually isn't a lady at all but a rather vicious werewolf. So you take this pointy silver weapon you have and... yeah, real subtle there, guys. Not that I'm complaining, but I have no idea how this game got in under the radar. Now, in the midst of all this cheerful violence and innuendo, you also must solve puzzles. Lots of puzzles. Often with no clue or indication how to do it. Happily, the game has a hint feature you can access by pressing start. Unhappily, as time goes on, you get fewer hints like this. And more that look like this. You can also uncover a few clues and texts and such throughout the game, but they can be a bit cryptic and, in at least one case, flat out wrong. This scroll tells you how to assemble the mystical staff you need to slay the great behemoth. It gives you the essentials of what you need and, sort of, what to do with them once you get them. But if you follow the assembly instructions exactly, they won't work. You're supposed to use the blade on the staff before the orb, not after. Basically, to get through this game, just try everything, even things that don't necessarily make a lot of intuitive sense. Like this thing here. It took me ages the first time around to realize that that suspicious torch was actually a lever. And on top of that, I was supposed to use it instead of hitting it or something. This is especially heinous because you can't do anything obvious with the other torch either, leading the player to believe that both of them are useless. And this troll, well, you can talk to him, the only thing in the game that answers, by the way. But in Shadowgate, as on the internet, trolls aren't exactly known for listening to reason. I think the game expects you to get so angry here that you end up doing something drastic. And what do you know? It works! So, yeah. Oh, and for those who like such things, and after all that who wouldn't, there's a little shortcut glitch that lets you skip part of the game. Normally, to get through this room, you have to wander around until you find a wraith, beat it, and get a magic cloak that repels the heat. But if you simply enter the room, leave, and kill yourself, guess where you come back? And as long as you have the freezing orb, you can waltz right through. If you survive to the end of the game with your sanity intact, you face the behemoth and the evil warlock lord who summoned him. Pretty anticlimactic if you ask me, but I'm not sure winning is really the point of this game. I mean, sure, it's nice to save the world and claim the standard hero award and all, but there's not much else to it. This is one of those games where the journey's the goal, not the destination. And frankly, I would enjoy it much more if it weren't for the stupid torches!
Shadowgate is a good time waster if you have a lot of patience and a morbid sense of humor. But otherwise, you may want to save yourself an aneurysm and stay far, far away. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some errands to run. What the heck? Okay. Am I dead? Sorry, go on. No, I'm not. My parents are from Flint. And what kind of crappy plot is this? Not. Okay, fine. We'll do it your way. a map, the clues mostly suck, and... Brilliant. Hello, what have we here? Something I did quite a bit back in the day when this game ticked me off. So long, suckers!